Hello, Marvel fans, and welcome to my channel. A lot of superheroes rely on a trademark weapon. They are frequently specifically linked to these goods. Wonder Woman has her golden lasso, and Captain America has his shield. For example, Green Lantern possesses his power ring. Fans are eager to see how they will be used because these are weapons that greatly help them in their battle against evil. Thor has a distinctive characteristic weapon. We are, of course, talking about Mjolnir. This mighty hammer has accompanied him on many unforgettable excursions. Non-hardcore fans may be unaware that Mjolnir is simply one tool in his armory. The Asgardian god has other options, including Stormbreaker. It's an alternative version of Mjolnir that performs many of the same duties. What distinguishes it is that one end of its head is a hammer and the other is an axe. Stormbreaker, also known as Ultimate Mjolnir, has gained popularity after its introduction in Avengers Infinity War, when Thor introduces it to the audience during a crowd-pleasing moment. If Stormbreaker is new to you, or if you just want to learn more about it, we have a comprehensive primer that will offer you with all of the knowledge you need. Here are 10 fun facts about the mighty Stormbreaker. But before we continue, if you are not yet subscribed to this channel, please subscribe by hitting the subscribe button below, and please click the notification bell to remind you of my videos. And now, it's time, Marvel fans. Let's rock! Number 1. Stormbreaker was originally made for someone else. The fact that Stormbreaker wasn't created for Thor is arguably its most unexpected aspect. Actually, it was designed for someone else. The Corbinite Beta Ray Bill, to be exact. You must go back to the mighty Thor number 339 from 1984 in order to comprehend the past. After Thor collided with Bill's ship, the two engaged in combat. After winning, Bill received his opponent's hammer as a reward. Despite being the legitimate winner, Bill started to doubt his decision to take it away from the person who had been using it for so long. To make up for this, Odin, who oversaw the match, decided to have a new weapon made specifically for Bill. It would essentially be the same as Mjolnir, it just wouldn't be Thor's Mjolnir. With that, Stormbreaker was born. Number 2. Stormbreaker was made with magic, not star power. Where does Stormbreaker, a powerful weapon, originate? You might be surprised by the response. Odin went to the cavern-dwelling and cavern-working dwarfs of Nidavellir after deciding to give Beta Ray Bill a hammer of his own. In particular, he went to his old friend Atri and asked that a Mjolnir-like creation be built. After much haggling, Atri finally consented and told his co-workers to start working. Odin utilized his magic to permeate the mold they had fashioned. Bill then removed his new hammer from the mold, naming it Stormbreaker, and gave Mjolnir to Thor. All of this brings to the second question. What precisely is something like this made of? Stormbreaker was created by the dwarfs using Uru, a highly durable and nearly indestructible substance. One of Uru's most notable characteristics is its ability to absorb multiple types of energy, making it a flexible tool in combat. Even better, once charged up, it can expel that energy back out in a forceful manner. Uru, which is mined by the dwarfs for use in making weapons for Asgardians, was also used in the making of Mjolnir and Thor's battle axe Jarnbjorn, among many others. Next, in number 3, Lady Sif had to fight a dwarf for it. When Odin approached Atri about casting the mold for a new hammer, he did not receive an automatic yes. The dwarf had one very specific condition. There were some unsolved conflicts between the two, which Atri wished to settle before committing to do any more work for Odin. He recommended that Asgard sent a female fighter to face his people's own champion. If the Asgardian fighter wins, he will create the weapon. If not, she will become the dwarf champion's personal property. Odin picked Sif, Heimdall's brother, and Thor's romantic interest. Her opponent was Throg, a dwarf who utilized his somewhat greater stature to intimidate and persuade the others. This is why Atri was eager to see him defeated. The two fought fiercely, with Sif emerging victorious and Throg briefly incapacitated. Atri was elated, especially given that being defeated by a woman would bring substantial embarrassment to Throg, to the degree that he might not show his face in public again anytime soon. With the outcome he desired, Atri ordered Stormbreaker to be forged. Had Sif not won, the hammer would never have come into creation. In number 4, are you worthy? Stormbreaker shares many qualities in common with Thor's other trusty weapon, Mjolnir. Perhaps the most significant of them is its ability to assess worthiness. In other words, it can only be lifted by those of impeccable moral character. Thor, of course, has no trouble wielding either one, as he is the very definition of worthiness. Others are not so lucky. There are several notable tales of Stormbreaker being selective in who may use it and when. Galactus is starved in Beta Ray Bill. God Hunter as the main character tries to destroy any planet from which he tries to feed in an effort to terminate him. He is ultimately unable to pick up Stormbreaker because of this aggressive trait. He only gets his privileges back after turning around and rescuing Galactus from a brutal alien race attack. Hey, wait a minute. How did Thanos pick it up? In Endgame? Okay, on to the next. In number 5, Thor once rejected Stormbreaker. You'd think that the chance to own a weapon like Stormbreaker would be something Thor would never pass up, right? It's powerful and comes equipped with all kinds of features that prove useful. And yet, the Asgardian hero rejected Stormbreaker in one of the comic book stories. Not because it wasn't worthy of him, but because he wasn't worthy of it. In the unworthy Thor narrative, Jane Foster gains worthiness and is able to claim Mjolnir for herself. That sends Thor, also known as Odinson, on a quest to find a new hammer. A protracted hunt begins, culminating in his opportunity to claim ultimate Mjolnir. Surprisingly, he rejects it, saying, "This is not my hammer." Why pass it up? Because he believes he is unworthy of such a great object. Gore the Butcher, a villain who targeted gods, previously told him that gods were unworthy of worship and that their arrogance would ultimately destroy mankind. Thor ignored those words until Nick Fury later tells him that Gore was right, sending him into an existential crisis. This makes him doubt his own worthiness, which in turn causes him to decide that ultimate Mjolnir doesn't belong in his hands. In number 6, Stormbreaker can open portals. Wow! It has a built-in Bifrost? As with many superheroes, Thor does a lot of traveling in his adventures. Because he hails from a faraway land where things commonly require his attention, he frequently needs to zip back and forth between Earth and Asgard. Other times, he has to move between various locations as part of his duties as a protector. Thor must get to where enemies are attacking or where someone requires assistance. Using Stormbreaker provides a means for doing these things with expediency. When Thor has to get to a new area quickly, he can use the weapon to open a portal that will transport him there. This dramatically improves his response time in an emergency, which is critical when the stakes are high. When Thor needs to return to Asgard, Stormbreaker serves as a convenient means of transportation. It may conjure a beam comparable to the Bifrost, allowing Thor to travel directly. Number 7, Transformation Abilities of Stormbreaker. Stormbreaker's ability to morph is one of its most remarkable features. To observe this in action, we need to look at Beta Ray Bill, the original owner. He is a Corbinite, a type of being that colonized other planets peacefully. The planets they inhabited were destroyed as the demon Surtur launched a cosmic onslaught. Later, Beta Ray Bill made his way to Earth, where he inhabited the body of a veteran. In this guise, he was known by the name Simon Walters. Whenever he wanted or needed to revert back to his Corbinite body, he could do so by tapping on Stormbreaker. The weapon allowed him to go back and forth between these identities. At another time in his life, Bill's consciousness was transferred into a cybernetic body. Similarly, he may return to his non-cyborg form by tapping Stormbreaker on the ground. Stormbreaker was essential to Bill throughout his comic book appearances, offering him with a quick, efficient way to become whichever form of himself he desired. Let's go to number 8. It was used to fight Hulk and free slaves. One of Stormbreaker's most prominent uses comes in the 2010 direct-to-video animated feature Planet Hulk. The movie's plot finds Hulk crash landing on another planet, where the dictatorial ruler forces him to compete in a series of gladiator-style fights for his people. The other fighters have been similarly enslaved. One of the opponents Hulk meets is none other than Beta Ray Bill. During their fight, Hulk attempts to smash Stormbreaker with his sword, but is thwarted by its force projection abilities. Bill hits his strong green opponent with the hammer numerous times in retribution for the attack, and then sends it flying directly toward Hulk, knocking him to the ground. Although Hulk ultimately wins, the fact that Stormbreaker topples him over provides a glimpse of its immense power. Beta Ray Bill gets another chance to utilize his weapon shortly afterward. He uses it in a direct act of rebellion, summoning a lightning bolt that destroys the special discs all fighters are required to wear in order to keep them enslaved. One mighty blow from Stormbreaker and everyone is freed. This represents a prime example of Stormbreaker being used for heroic reasons in a Marvel-related story. We're almost there, Marvel fans. On to number 9. It can manipulate weather. We all know that Mjolnir can summon lighting. Stormbreaker can too. In fact, as the name implies, it has the ability to manipulate the weather. There are a number of notable examples in which it was used for this purpose. Beta Ray Bill once created a storm huge enough to engulf the entire surface of the sun. He did this to deflect the harmful rays coming from it. Only because of the might of his hammer was he able to summon anything large enough to complete the task. All right, before we proceed to number 10, let me remind you to please subscribe to my channel. You can also comment your thoughts about this video. A big thank you, Marvel fans. Now let's go back. In number 10, it has many functions. Many weapons have a single function. They exist to serve a goal, and while they are good at it, they aren't capable of much more. Stormbreaker is unique. It possesses a variety of skills that can be used by Thor, Bill, or anybody else deemed worthy of carrying it. Flight is one of its main abilities. The hammer's owner can employ willpower to move it in any direction and at any pace. That offers a lot of battle flexibility, enabling quick improvisation in attack or defense when needed. In connection with it, Stormbreaker is also capable of tracking. It can locate its owner, even if they are in another dimension, if it wants to find the route to them or possibly the person it is punching. Not all of its uses are offensive. In fact, one is significantly defensive. Stormbreaker can create shields that will protect its holder from oncoming assault. One more thing, if by some chance an injury has been sustained, it can help to heal the wound. In many ways, Stormbreaker is like a magical Swiss Army knife, containing a lot of helpful tools in one package. Now that surprised me. Why, MCU? You should have healed Tony in Endgame. So that's it, Marvel fans, you have reached the end of this video. Please give it a like before you leave. But before you leave, I have one question. Who would you choose? Mjolnir or Stormbreaker? But the real question is, are you worthy? Thank you, and I'll see you on my next video, Marvel fans.